On the frozen peaks of Tibet, wrapped in silence and mystery, lived a man whose life became one of the greatest spiritual legends. His name was Milarepa. Before he was honored as Tibet's enlightened yogi, he was known as a sorcerer, a dark practitioner who summoned storms and called upon the hidden powers of the bone tradition to take revenge on those who wronged him. His story is a testimony of extremes, power and suffering, vengeance and redemption, shadow and light. Through the trials of his master Marpa and the secret transmissions reaching back to Naropa and the Six Yogas, Milarepa turned his path of darkness into a path of realization. And in doing so, he became remembered as the first in Tibet to attain complete enlightenment within a single lifetime. His biography is more than the tale of one man. It is a mystery, a riddle left for us to unravel. How can the darkest shadow give birth to the brightest light? It also opens a window into ancestral practices of Tibetan occultism, rooted in the bone tradition, as well as Buddhist esoteric techniques that are still practiced in secret in remote monasteries. What makes Milarepa's chronicle so compelling is that it reveals the dual nature hidden in all of us, the human heart's capacity to hold both darkness and holiness, and the power of transmutation. His life began not in holiness, but in revenge, in the dangerous world of magic and power. And yet, from this darkness emerged a master of wisdom, a yogi whose songs revealed the deepest truths of mind and reality, the sorcerer who became Tibet's most beloved saint. He was once seen flying over the village of Longda, witnessed by a relative plowing a field, a glimpse of the extraordinary abilities of a fully realized mind. Milarepa was not a saint who fit into any mold of behavior, neither in his time nor in ours. He was a master of flesh and bone, with dense shadows and radiant light. Milarepa, born as Tapaga, delightful to hear, came into the world in 1052 in the highlands of Tibet. His childhood was happy until the premature death of his father, who owned fertile lands, a house, and considerable property. With that loss came betrayal. His uncle took control of everything, reducing Milarepa, his mother, and his younger sister to the status of slaves in their own home. They were mistreated, abused, and humiliated, while the uncle seized the entire property. Milarepa's heart filled with anger and despair. This injustice planted in him an unquenchable thirst for revenge and a deep burning resentment that would shape the early years of his life. Urged on by his mother's desperation, Milarepa sought out the secret teachings of the bone tradition, the ancient path of shamanic rites and black magic. Through these dark practices, he became a fearsome sorcerer, able to summon spirits and command destructive forces. He used his learned black magic to call down a supernatural hailstorm, causing his enemy's house to collapse during a wedding celebration, killing 35 people inside while friends and guests looked on in horror. The villagers trembled at his power. Yet this path of revenge came with a terrible price. The very forces he invoked brought suffering and isolation, and his heart grew heavy under the weight of guilt, emptiness, and fear. The shadows of his actions would follow him relentlessly, forcing him to face the darkness within. This shadow, born from betrayal and vengeance, would become the beginning of his transmutation, the first step on the long road from sorcerer to saint. Surrounded by guilt and haunted by the weight of his actions, Milarepa realized that vengeance had left him empty. Power could destroy, but it could not heal. He set out to find a true guide who could lead him on a path of purification, and his search led him to Marpa the translator, a disciple of the great Indian master Naropa, guardian of the secret transmissions of Tantric Buddhism and the hidden yogas of transformation. But Marpa was not the compassionate guide Milarepa expected. He was stern, unpredictable, and often harsh. Aware of the dark karma Milarepa carried, he called him the Great Sorcerer and treated him with extreme severity. Before offering instruction, Marpa subjected him to seemingly impossible ordeals, building stone towers by hand, only to tear them down and start again. The tasks were backbreaking, humiliating, and so relentless that Milarepa sometimes thought of ending his life. Yet his longing for redemption kept him on the path. After years of trials that broke down every trace of pride and anger, he stood before his master with nothing left but raw sincerity and the desperate will to be transformed. Only then did Marpa open the door to the teachings. He entrusted Milarepa with the profound practices of Mahamudra and the 6 Yogas of Naropa, among them the practice of Tumo, the inner fire, which gave him the power to sit naked in the snow and generate warmth from within. Through these teachings, the sorcerer's path of destruction was turned into a yogi's path of transformation. Behind Milarepa's transformation lies a secret current of wisdom flowing through Tibet, rooted in the ancient Bon tradition, the indigenous shamanic culture of the region, and enriched by powerful Indian tantric teachings. Bon is an ancient Tibetan spiritual tradition, predating Buddhism, with roots that stretch back thousands of years. Oral histories suggest up to 18,000 years. Originating in the region around Mount Kailash, Bon was designed to help humans survive harsh environments and heal worldly and spiritual afflictions. For millennia, the Bonpos, shamans and priests of Bon, preserved knowledge and practices aimed at directing human energies and the forces of nature and the universe to heal and transform. Its rituals, including divination, astrology, medicine, protective rites, apparitions, magical powers, and funeral ceremonies, were sometimes mistaken for black magic. Closely tied to nature's elemental gods, Bon practices such as exorcisms, magical formulas and invocations, and the neutralization of harmful spirits guided their consciousness to higher realms according to karma. Yet within Bon, such actions were not considered black magic, as every ritual aligned with the tradition's ultimate objective, the liberation of all beings from the cycle of suffering. Bon and Tibetan Buddhism share many philosophical truths, cultivating wisdom, compassion, and self-realization, yet their lineages differ. Bon traces its teachings to Trungpa Shenrab, an enlightened master who lived centuries before Shakyamuni Buddha. While forms and rituals differ, both traditions seek inner and outer harmony through profound teachings and ceremonial practices. Even today, Bon preserves a living tradition of shamanic power, esoteric knowledge, and spiritual transformation, revealing a Tibet where the mystical, the arcane, and the transcendent coexist. In Tibet, both Bon and Buddhist masters communicated knowledge in two forms: exoteric teachings, open to all who wish to learn; esoteric teachings, secret instructions, passed only to a select group of disciples after long preparatory practices, called preliminaries. These preliminaries could involve months of repetitive meditation, prostrations, and ritual practices, often repeated 100,000 times. Only after completing these trials would the master transmit the deepest secrets. One of the most unusual methods involved transmitting teachings through a small tube placed at a disciple's ear, ensuring the sacred knowledge reached only the chosen student. Among the most famous esoteric practices are the 6 Yogas of Naropa, which Milarepa inherited through Marpa. Originating from Naropa, an 11th century Indian master, these secret methods of tantric Buddhism were designed to transform body and mind into instruments of realization. They were powerful, even dangerous, if undertaken without the right preparation and guidance. These advanced practices combine visualization, mantra, breathing, and meditation on the body's subtle channels and chakras, leading to the dissolution of duality and the recognition of luminous emptiness, the true nature of mind. Before entering these yogas, practitioners traditionally undergo foundational training, meditations on impermanence, the suffering of samsara, compassion for all beings, and the deep commitment of bodhicitta, the resolve to attain enlightenment for the sake of others. The 6 yogas are Tumo, inner fire. Tumo is considered the root of the path and lays the foundation for all other yogas. This practice works with the body's subtle energies to purify mind and body, opening the way to deep states of realization and blissful awareness. The practice begins with visualization of the body's energy channels, Sa, and the subtle winds of energy, Lung, equivalent to prana in Sanskrit. Of the 3 main channels, the central channel Umma, the left Gyangma, and the right Roma, the central one is most important. Along this channel lie 5 chakras. At the crown of the head, throat, heart, navel, and perineum. Through breath retention, concentration on seed syllables at these chakras, and secret physical techniques, the winds are drawn into the central channel, igniting an inner fire at the navel. This fire consumes mental obscurations, burns away disturbing passions, and induces a state of radiant clarity and bliss. Thus, Tumo is a gateway to Gnosis, the transcendent knowledge leading to liberation. Its primary aim is spiritual, the acceleration of awakening. Yet it also produces a remarkable side effect: physical heat, enabling practitioners to withstand even the freezing climate of the Tibetan plateau. The Yoga of the Illusory Body. The Yoga of the Illusory Body, Gyulu, trains us to perceive the dreamlike, insubstantial nature of all phenomena, including our own body. By realizing that appearances are like reflections in a mirror, without fixed essence, we deepen our understanding of emptiness. Through visualization and meditative practice, the body and mind are experienced as non-dual, dissolving the ordinary sense of separation. This recognition loosens attachment to the physical form and everyday reality, allowing us to rest in the awareness that all manifestations are transient and illusory. The Yoga of the Clear Light. Clear light, usul in Tibetan, refers to the luminous essence of the mind, its pure empty awareness beyond duality. This yoga is considered both the source and the ultimate goal of the path, as it allows access to the subtlest level of consciousness, the very nature of reality itself. For ordinary people, glimpses of the clear light appear only briefly, most often in the transition moments of deep sleep, or in the bardo, the state between death and rebirth. Because they are untrained, these flashes go unrecognized. But for the practitioner who has cultivated this yoga, the luminous nature of mind is recognized instantly, whether in meditation, in dreams, or at death. Through meditation on emptiness, moments of pure awareness are stabilized until the clear light can be sustained. At the time of dying, this recognition becomes the key to liberation. Realizing that this radiant awareness is none other than one's own mind, the practitioner awakens and is freed. Dream Yoga, Milam, trains consciousness to awaken within dreams, transforming the dream state into a field of spiritual practice. By remaining aware while dreaming, we learn to explore the deeper workings of the mind and recognize the dreamlike quality of all experience. Its ultimate aim is to rest in the state of the clear light mind during sleep and to carry this awareness into waking life. Using tantric methods of visualization, meditation, and awareness, practitioners dissolve illusions in the dream and awaken to the same freedom in daily life. Bardo Yoga. Bardo Yoga guides consciousness through the intermediate states between death and rebirth, helping practitioners navigate these transitional phases with awareness. It trains the mind to recognize and respond to Bardo experiences as they arise, facing impermanence with calm and clarity. The practice involves meditation on the fleeting nature of life, preparing the practitioner for the inevitability of death, and visualization techniques to stabilize and guide consciousness during this transitional phase. Powa, transference of consciousness. Powa is one of the most important practices in both Bon and Tibetan Buddhism, still performed today. Its purpose is to consciously direct the mind at the moment of death, ensuring liberation or a favorable rebirth if enlightenment has not been attained during life. Through extended practice and preparation, practitioners learn to open and exit at the crown of the head, at the meeting point of the parietal bones. At death, consciousness is propelled through this opening, merging into the heart of a chosen deity, being directed toward a pure realm, or even entering the Dharmakaya, the ultimate reality that forms the essence of a Buddha's awakened mind. This marks the union of the practitioner's mind with the divine. Techniques involve visualizations of the central channel, mantra recitations, and meditation on emptiness. In rare and special forms of Powa, the tradition holds that consciousness can even be transferred into another body, including that of a deceased person. While secretive in many of its details, Powa is regarded as a profound safeguard, a method to navigate death consciously, continue spiritual practice in the bardo, or secure rebirth in a higher realm. Through the 6 yogas, Marpa transmitted to Milarepa not only the teachings, but also the power to transform his body into a channel of energy and his mind into an instrument of clarity. The powers he once used for destruction were transmuted into spiritual fire, illuminating his path and the path for those who would follow. Entirely devoted to the teachings of Marpa, Milarepa completed his transmutation. The black magician vanished, and in his place arose a disciplined yogi, a master of mind and energy. He retreated to the high mountains of Tibet, living in solitary caves, surviving on a minimal diet, sometimes only nettles, until his skin turned green, and enduring extreme conditions. There, he dedicated himself fully to meditation, facing inner demons and visions born from his past karma. Yet through these trials, his spiritual realization deepened, until he was at times lost entirely in the vastness of enlightenment. After years of intense meditation and solitude, Milarepa's body was so filled with tumo and spiritual power that even stone yielded to his touch. In one cave in Tibet, when his disciples doubted his extraordinary attainment, he pressed his hand against the rock wall. The stone softened like clay, leaving a permanent imprint. These imprints are still said to exist in certain sacred sites in Tibet and are venerated by pilgrims as proof of his spiritual realization and mastery of energy. Different regions claim to have these caves. The most well-known is Drakar Taso in western Tibet, where Milarepa meditated for many years. Visitors report seeing what are believed to be his handprint and footprint in solid rock, preserved as sacred relics. One evening, Milarepa returned to his cave after gathering firewood, only to find it overrun with demons. They were cooking his food, reading his books, and sleeping in his bed, completely taking over the place. Though he understood the non-duality of self and other, he didn't yet know how to get rid of these intruders. He sensed they were projections of his own mind, all the unwanted parts of himself, but he wasn't sure how to dissolve them. First, he tried teaching them the Dharma. Sitting on his elevated seat, he spoke about oneness, compassion, emptiness, and how poison can become medicine. Nothing changed. The demons stayed. Then, losing patience, he became angry and charged at them, but they only laughed. Finally, he gave up trying to force them out. Sitting on the floor, he said, "I'm not going away, and it looks like you're not either. Let's just live here together." At that point, all the demons vanished, except one, particularly vicious. Unsure what else to do, Milarepa surrendered completely. He walked right into the demon's mouth and said, "Just eat me if you want." And then that last demon left too. In that moment, Milarepa realized that all appearances, even the most threatening, are projections of the mind. He became a master of Mahamudra, a meditation approach that emphasizes the innate purity and clarity of the mind. Milarepa became a central figure in the Kagyu school of Tibetan Buddhism. He transmitted his wisdom through spontaneous songs, known as doja, which remain some of the deepest and most poetic expressions in Tibetan Buddhism. Over time, Milarepa's life and his songs, composed during meditation and retreat, resonated throughout Tibetan Buddhism, making him a model of the enlightened yogi and tantric practitioner. Though the verses are simple and accessible, their meaning runs deep. Each song reveals profound insights into mind, reality, and the path of liberation, translating complex spiritual principles into language anyone could feel and understand. Yet these songs are not just teachings. They are a living transmission of energy. When Milarepa sang, the vibrations themselves carried his realization, touching the hearts and minds of listeners. His doja became a bridge between ordinary life and the extraordinary, between human suffering and the potential for awakening. From a sorcerer of vengeance to a master of wisdom, Milarepa's life became a testament to the power of transmutation, that even the darkest shadow can give rise to the brightest light. Here is a brief collection of Milarepa's teachings, taken directly from his songs. When you chase after thoughts, you are like a dog chasing a stick. Every time it is thrown, you run after it. Instead, be like a lion. A lion does not chase the stick. It turns to face the thrower. One only throws a stick at a lion once. In the gap between thoughts, non-conceptual wisdom shines continuously. Mental activity in the daytime creates latent patterns of habitual thought, which transform at night into delusory visions perceived by semi-consciousness. This is the deceptive, magic-like bardo of dreams. Life is short, and the time of death uncertain. Apply yourself to meditation. Act so that you have no cause to be ashamed of yourselves, and hold fast to this rule. I desire no wealth or possessions. I have nothing. Thus, I avoid the suffering of acquiring, the suffering of guarding, and the suffering of losing. Worldly pursuits have only one inevitable end: sorrow. Acquisitions end in dispersion, buildings in destruction, meetings in separation, births in death. In the monastery of your heart, there is a temple where all Buddhas unite. Take the lowest place, and you shall reach the highest. Live and die without regret. All meditation must begin with deep compassion. Whatever you do must emerge from love and the wish to benefit others. Accustomed long to contemplating love and compassion, I have forgotten all difference between myself and others. Do not entertain hopes for sudden realization. Practice continuously throughout life. The affairs of the world will go on forever. Do not delay meditation. Once you receive profound instructions from a master, commit single-mindedly to realizing the truth. Strong and healthy, who thinks of sickness until it strikes like lightning? Preoccupied with the world, who thinks of death until it arrives like thunder? In fear of death, I took to the mountains, meditating repeatedly on the uncertainty of the hour of death, capturing the fortress of the deathless, the unending nature of mind. Now all fear of death is over and done. I need nothing, seek nothing, desire nothing. One should see that all appearance is like mist and fog. One who knows that all things are their mind, that all with which they meet are friendly, is ever joyful. To attain Buddhahood, we must scatter this life's aims and objects to the wind. I hope this information helps you, and always remember, you hold immense power within, far beyond the physical world. You are here to awaken to it. Thank you for listening.